Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I'm going to be doing some recommendations for the Christian Readathon. So if you don't know what the Spring into Christian Fiction Readathon is, I will link the announcement video down below so you can check it out. It's going to happen all throughout the month of April, and this video is going to be talking about the books that my TBR plus books that I'm going to recommend to you if you need help with any of these prompts. Also, if any of you who are watching, if you have recommendations for any of these prompts, please put them down below in the comments. I'd love to see your recommendations, and I'm sure others will as well. So before we get started, I did want to put like a note out there that like if you don't have like any way to get Christian fiction, like if you don't have Libby or a Hoopla app or anything, you just don't have Christian fiction, then feel free to use mainstream fiction. That's okay. It is a Christian fiction readathon, but I do understand if you aren't able to get any. There's dust in here. And a truck going by. Please hurry. Okay. Anyways, so let's go ahead and I'm just gonna put my TBR in with the recommendations. That way, if you want to read what I read, it'll just make it easier that way instead of having my TBR separate. All right, so if you didn't know, the buddy read, which I will get, the buddy read for the readathon is Wishtress by Nadine, and this works for a few different prompts, so I'll be talking about this one later on, but just so you know, this is the buddy read. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I feel like it's really bright in here for some reason. Is that better? It's just because the window is really bright. Okay, that's better. Okay, so this will be the buddy read for the readathon. Can't wait to read it. I'm excited. All right, so the first prompt, which goes perfectly with that, is a book with blue on the cover. And I have a few of those, so just want to make sure. Okay, this one works actually. I had a couple over here because I didn't want the pile to topple. The Extraordinary Death of Mrs. Kipp by Sarah Brunsvold is definitely blue cover and one of my absolute favorite books if you have not picked it up. This is about a woman who kind of gets the worst of the worst job in a local newspaper and says she has to do an obituary for a woman in hospice. And normally I don't like books like this, but this book was absolutely amazing and one of my favorite books of all time, so definitely check it out. Clara Kipp is like one of my all-time favorite characters, so that works for blue cover. This one's kind of aqua blue, but I would still count it as blue. A Dangerous Beauty by Melissa Kosel. This is one of my favorites, about a woman who is running away from traffickers and finds herself in an, I wouldn't say arranged marriage, but like, yeah, a marriage of convenience. That's what it is, to protect her and keep her in the U.S. So also really amazing and one of my favorite books. What else is blue here? Wishtress has a blue cover. It's kind of like a sapphire blue almost, so really pretty blue. Almost looks purple on camera, but it is blue. Winning His Trust by Toni Shiloh. This one is definitely blue, and you can probably see there's other blues on my shelf. I mean, some of Becky Wade's are, but I haven't read those, so I mean, can't recommend them, but if you want to read them, go ahead. There will be others along this list that I haven't read yet, but I didn't have any recommendations, so my friends helped out. And then Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Brunsvold. This is a World War II historical romance. One of my favorites of Sarah's, so definitely check it out. It's definitely blue. A Match in the Making by Jen Turano. She has a blue dress, and that is like the main front of the cover. So as long as there's the majority of the book cover is blue, then yeah, that works. So this one will work. Historical romance, matchmaking. Yeah, it's just a fun time. So that's it for blue on the cover. What am I reading? I forgot to look at my TBR. Oh yeah. I was like, is that the one I'm reading? So for blue on the cover, I will be putting Wishtress, the buddy read, into blue on the cover because this is like, I think the only blue cover that I have next month, or one of the only ones, so that's the one I'll be reading. All right, so the next prompt was a book you keep looking at but haven't picked up. So this is more of a personal choice. If you see a book that you've seen talked about a lot on BookTube or something you've seen on your bookshelves a lot and you just haven't picked up. So if you're new to Christian fiction and you don't know what to pick, I'm going to mention a couple books that you've seen a lot on my channel, or others have seen a lot, that I talk about a lot. So for that one, I do talk a lot about Love Amid the Ashes by Misu Andrews. This is a biblical fiction based on Job's story in the Bible, and it is my favorite Misu Andrews. I do talk quite a bit about it. So if you're interested in picking up a biblical fiction, there's this one. And then I'm going to mention Dangerous Beauty again because this one was one of my favorites. The hero in this is he's great. I love him. He's one of my favorite heroes in books. So you can read that one. So yeah, so if you're new to Christian fiction and you don't know what to pick, these are some that I've mentioned on my channel a lot. So you may have seen these talked about, or others have as well. Boo by Renee Gutteridge. If you want something funny and a hometown feel, not scary, I promise you. Just, yeah, the cover looks scary, but it is absolutely funny and hilarious. And yeah, it's about a man who becomes a new Christian, and he was a horror author, and the town wants him to still be that. But as a Christian, he doesn't want to write those anymore. So really great, and that's a good one too. Let's see what else I can recommend. Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp by Sarah Brunsvold. I've talked about that one a lot. I've talked a lot about Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sundin. I almost said Brunsvold, but Sarah Sundin. So any one of those would really work. Oh, almost forgot about the one on the bottom. I have way too many books, I gotta tell you. The pile is growing. And my favorite, which is In Search of a Prince by Toni Shiloh. So I talk about this one quite often and nonstop. So yeah, you can use any of those for that prompt. If you don't see, or if you don't know any books that you've seen a lot and haven't picked up, then pick up one that you may have seen a lot on my channel. So the next, what am I reading for that one? Did I pick one out for that one yet? Yes. This one I've checked out from the library. Actually, I think I requested a purchase from my library, and I think it took them months to get it in. It took a long time, but they finally did. I checked it out, and I never read it, so I returned it. But it is Shadow in the Mind's Eye by Jane Eyre Trump. I now know how to pronounce her first name. I pronounced it wrong before. Sorry. But yeah, so I really want to read her book. I've picked it up. I've seen this cover so many times, and I just really want to get to it. So I know it's going to be probably a heartbreaking story. I know it says, somebody mentioned it's supposed to be kind of Alfred Hitchcock feel, but it's about this man who has PTSD from the military, and he comes home, and he has very bad anger issues, and he has these visions or something where he sees these people coming over the hills behind their house. And so I don't know what it's about. I know the wife is trying to help him through this, but the neighbors are starting to really want him away because of his violence and stuff. So I'm very excited to try that book. Hopefully it's really good. So that's the one that I'll be reading. All right, the next one is a bird on the cover. So for me, I'm going to be reading Flight of the Raven by Morgan L. Bussey. I think that's the second book, because the first book I'm going to read for a different prompt. But I don't really know anything about this. I know she writes dystopian Christian fiction, and so I've been really wanting to try one of her series, and I've heard really nothing but good things about this series. So I thought I'd start off with this series. So for recommendations, let's see. Laurel's Dream by Pepper Basham, one of my absolute favorite books of this year. Love it so much. Actually, I read it in December, but I'm counting it for this year because I already did my favorites of last year before that book I read. There's this new teacher who comes to the town, and he meets Laurel, and Laurel just kind of treats him like a really good friend, and I really love their story together. And everyone else treats him like an outsider because he's from England, and so they think that he's trying to teach them black magic and stuff, even though he's not. It's just science. But I just really, really love that book. It's one of my favorites, and Laurel is a bird, so you can definitely use that one. Also, Court of Swans by Melanie Dickerson. I do not have the first book. I don't know why, but it's called Court of Swans. Swans definitely is a bird on the cover, and this is just kind of, I have actually heard that they're fairy tale retellings, even though I don't feel that from her new series compared to other series that she's had. But I do enjoy this series. It's been a lot of fun. I don't think Court of Swans was my favorite in the series, but I still did like it. And I like all Melanie Dickerson's books. They're all good. So that one can work too. It's the first in this series. They do kind of go as standalones a little bit, but there could be a character or two that are mentioned that go into the next book. So, but that's the first book. So yay, it's not in the middle of the series. And you could read, I do have that one. Mountain Laurel by Laurie Benton. Laurel is also a bird, but there's also I don't know if that's a laurel or not, or a raven or something. But this one definitely, I have still not read this one. This one will definitely, plus the sequel to it, be read this year because I've been wanting to read this one. This is like another book like Unspoken by Angela Hunt that took me forever to read. It's like that because I've been wanting to read this for a while. So, but it's not going to happen next month, but it will happen maybe in summer or fall. So. But that's kind of a recommendation that I haven't read yet, but it looks good and it sounds good. Oh, I forgot to mention what this one is about. So this one is about a man named Ian, and his father was actually a slave owner because it's during slavery times. But he meets this slave who is very, very good at art and being creative. And so he kind of helps her with that, and he really does not agree with his father. And so I think it's going to be really good, so I can't wait to read it. All right, I already said what I was going to read. Okay, next prompt was reread a favorite. So I know some of you have not read Christian fiction. So what I'm going to do for this one is you can pick one of my favorites to read. Technically, it's being reread by somebody else, but I'm going to count it. So if you really want to read Christian fiction and you're just new to it, or you don't know what to read, or you don't have any that you'd want to reread, then reread one of my favorites or a friend's favorite. If you have a friend who's read Christian fiction, then go ahead and do that. So I've actually already mentioned some of my favorites. Let's see. I'm trying not to repeat too many, but I mean, they're all really good. All right, so let's see. I'm going to do these. So you already know Boo by Renee Guttridge would work for that one. Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp by Sarah Brunsvold. Love Amid the Ashes. As I said, the ones that I mentioned a lot on my channel are usually my favorite. So if I've talked about it a lot, it's probably a favorite. And then this is a new favorite, which is The Maid of Ballymacool by Jennifer Dybel. So this is a Cinderella retelling and set in Ireland, and I just absolutely love it. Is it Ireland? I was going to say Scotland for a second, but it's Ireland. But I absolutely love this book so much, and yeah, definitely pick it up. If you like Cinderella retellings, it's absolutely a beautiful story, and the hero in this is definitely another favorite of mine, so that one's a good one as well. All right. So yeah, so reread one of your favorites or reread one of my favorites. All right, so the next, I forgot to mention what I was reading. Man, I keep forgetting. Gotta do my TBR too. So TBR, I'm actually going to be rereading a very old favorite of mine, and I put 2 in the series on this list because I will be meeting her later on this year, and I want to reread an old favorite because I haven't read it. It was probably, I think it was honestly my first series by her that I ever read. It was back in late middle school, early high school, and that is, I don't know the series name, but the first one is A Lady of High Regard by Tracy Peterson. And these in this series were my absolute favorite growing up out of all the ones that I've read by her. So I definitely am going to try to reread those. And hopefully it will still be a favorite. I hope. I don't see why not, but yeah. All right, so the next prompt was a book that smells nice or a book that is set during Easter time. So I'm going to do the Easter time ones first because I thought I had a recommendation, and I don't think it's set during Easter time, so I can't put that one. So I had to ask some friends of mine to help me out with this prompt. So thank you, friends, for helping me. So I have a couple for you. Risen by Angela Hunt, and this actually takes place and set during the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So that'll work absolutely perfectly. Then there's one called Easter Carrots by Erin, I think that's how I pronounce her name, Erin Mangum, which is a novella. And my friend said it was really cute. I didn't look at what it was about, but I mean, Easter Carrots just sounds so cute. I'm guessing probably a romance, but yeah, so I might pick that one up if I don't find a book that smells nice. And then the next one that I have is a very bookish Easter novella collection, which I think just released or is soon to be released. I will put the release date if it's not out yet on the screen. But yeah, so that's kind of a novella collection of a whole bunch of different authors based around Easter time. So I think that one will be fun as well. So as far as smelling books, I did not smell books. So honestly, I think I might actually go, if I can find the novella, I'll do that, the Easter Carrots. If not, then I'm going to have to find a book that smells nice, because I don't know why I did that prompt, but honestly, it's just a fun prompt, and I think it would be just a fun time. It's like the weirdest video ever. Okay, well, at least this one has a smell, but I don't know if it's like... Okay, I kind of like the smell of this one. Honestly, this is, like, considering the fact that I smelled a couple the other day, like, that had no smell too, I think this is, like, the only one that, like... Okay, yeah, that smelled good. So, okay, we're gonna read this one. For smell. So this is mine for my TBR. So it is The Reluctant Rival. It is Leah's story from the Bible, and this is actually written by Misu Andrews, but it's for the Ordinary Woman of the Bible collection from a guidepost. And so I just got this one a couple weeks ago, and so I've been really wanting to read this since I'm trying to finish all the books that I haven't read from Misu Andrews yet. So this will be the one that I choose. So if you want a book that smells good, yeah, this one's pretty good. Alright, so that's what I'm going to be reading. I think I'm going to leave it up there so I don't forget to bring it downstairs for my own TBR. Alright, so the next prompt was flowers on the cover. So, what am I reading for that one? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So the one that I'll be reading for that one, I don't think there's going to be another choice. I mean, I could obviously change my TBR, and you guys will find out in April if I do. I doubt I will, but for flowers on the cover, I'll be reading Before I Called You Mine by Nicole Deese. I think this actually almost won the buddy read for the readathon, so I might end up picking this one because I do want to read it. It has adoption in it, and it's about this woman who wants to adopt, and she is a single person who wants to adopt. But when she finds out that she can adopt, there's like a stipulation in the papers that says she has to remain single. So, but then she ends up meeting a fellow teacher at the school that she teaches at. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. So yeah, I think that'll be the book that I'll be reading. It sounds really good. All right, so for flowers on the cover, I do have a couple. I wonder if this one does. No, just... there's sheep on the cover. Just found out there's sheep on the cover. Had no idea. Look at the little sheep. Yeah, those are sheep. Okay. Anyways, not that one. Alright. Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp would definitely work for that. I love this cover. I know some people haven't really liked the cover, but I love this. Probably because I love, like, junk journaling and journaling in general, that this just speaks to me. So, yeah. Flowers on the cover for that one. Also, if you have like a flower in the title, that could work too. I don't mind. All right, this one, which I'll talk about again too, The Innkeeper of Ivy Hill, which is the first book in the Tales from Ivy Hill, and there is definitely flowers along the bushes and the pathway there. Second Time Around by Melody Carlson. I forgot I didn't talk about this one. Well, that's okay. It's middle-aged romance story, but like not heavy on the romance, which I was very happy about. So there's definitely flowers along her shop there, which I really like. Also, like, this whole setup on the cover, literally she describes everything on this cover. Like, she's that good. So definitely Second Time Around works. I probably have more. I just didn't really like do a deep dive on my bookshelf. So all right, so let's see. The next prompt is Spring Brings New Life. Read a book that has a new life. It can be someone who is new to their faith, a character who is moving to start a new life, or literally the birth of a new life. So pretty much anything that goes along those lines. That Nicole Deese book that I actually mentioned, since it's like kind of a new adoption thing, so that could work for new life. So the book I'll be reading for New Life is Pharaoh's Daughter by Misu Andrews, because this is about Pharaoh's daughter when she finds and adopts Moses when he is found in the river. So this would definitely work for that one. I think this is the first in a series. I hope it's the first one. I'll have to make sure before I read it, because I like to read them in order. Even though a lot of the times they're not connected in her series, but I do like to try to read them in order anyway. So I definitely will be reading this one. And this one is gifted to me. I think it was Lindsay. Yeah. So thank you, Lindsay, for gifting this to me. I definitely will be wanting to read this one. Finally, we'll be reading it. So you can definitely read Boo, because I actually had like a new Christian prompt in my last readathon last year. So Boo would definitely work for a new Christian. You could read Remember Me, which I just did a review on by Tracy Peterson. This is book 1 of the Pictures of the Heart, which is her newest release. This one definitely works for a new life because she moves and starts to get a new life. So that one would work. So would Second Time Around, because she moves from her like big kind of Victorian style home to like this small town in Oregon. I think it's Oregon. Yeah, Oregon. And so she's starting a new life and a pretty much almost a new business too as well. So that definitely works for new as well. So definitely any of those would work for new. All right, let's see. The next prompt is a book that gives you a sunshine feeling. That could be a book that makes you happy, a book that gives a warm and cozy feeling, or even just a warm setting. So for that one, that's the one where I'll be reading the next book in the Tracy Peterson series, which is A Lady of Hidden Intent. Growing up when I read these, I remember feeling like so happy as I was reading them. So hopefully that'll still give me that feeling, because I feel like that book will be the perfect choice for that. All right, so I have a couple of different recommendations for that one. Definitely Second Time Around, even though she hits a lot of troubles in her business and along the way, this gave me like, well, it gave me quite a few different emotions, but it definitely gave me that sunshine feeling of small town feels that just, it felt really good reading it. I really did like it. So that one would work. I don't have it with me, but Dear Henry, Love Edith by Becca Kinzer. My mom's currently reading it and really enjoying it, but just, it made me laugh out loud. It gives me such a sunshine feeling. If you like romantic comedy movies, definitely check it out. I absolutely love that book so much. It's one of my favorites of all time. And yeah, it's absolutely great. Sorry for the camera shaking. My foot was falling asleep. All right, so definitely that one. Let's see, The Peasant's Dream by Melanie Dickerson. It is the last in a series, but as I said before, you can read them pretty much as standalone. But this is the last in the Hagenheim series, and just, I was literally hugging that book as I was reading it, so you know it was a sunshine feeling. It's a Cinderella retelling, but switching roles, where the man is like the Cinderfella and the girl is Princess Charming. So it was really good. My absolute favorite from her. And then let's see. Also, Boo by Renee Godrich would work too. The audiobook especially, because it definitely made me laugh and made me happy reading it. So definitely that one as well. Alrighty. I think I already mentioned what I was reading. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Next prompt is a short book under 250 pages. So for this one, I really only have one recommendation for you all, but you could easily pick anything. I mean, just check on Goodreads or Amazon to see if that book fits under that. You can also look up lists for Christian fiction novellas. There's quite a bit out there. I know Pepper Basham has one. I will try to put a picture up so that way you know what it's called. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I think it's called By the Book or something, but I was meaning to read that one last year. I never got to it, but definitely it's short enough. All right, and then let's see. Any love-inspired book. So Winning His Trust by Toni Shiloh would work, or literally any love-inspired book, because they are definitely under 250. This one is like 215 or so. So definitely under 250, any love-inspired book would work. These are also, if you have a Walmart around, really cheap. Not sponsored, but really cheap. All right, so, and then the one I'll be reading, which I think is under 250. Let me double check. Yes, definitely. It's even under 200. So the one I'll be reading is another Misu Andrews. As I said, I'm going through her backlist that I haven't read yet. But it is By the Waters of Babylon. And this is part of the Psalm series. But I know the Psalm series, I think, is written by like a few different people. So I'll see what the other books are. You never know. It doesn't say, but it's based off of Psalm 137. So I can't wait to read this one. It's nice and short, and I do really love this cover. So glad I found it. All right, so those two would work, plus any other novellas that are out there. All right, let's see. The last one is read the first book of a series. So for that one, I'm going to be reading that first book that I mentioned earlier, which was Mark of the Raven. Excuse me, Raven? Mark of the Raven by Morgan L. Bussey. And so that's one that I'll be reading. Anything first in a series, I mean, Boo would work. Remember Me by Tracy Peterson. The Innkeeper of Ivy Hill by Julie Clausen. So just based, I guess, on your preferences on what you want to read. You know, find a new series to enjoy. There's definitely a lot. So if you still need more recommendations, I'm sure others will put some down below as well. So yeah, so those are all the prompts. I hope you will have a really fun time with this readathon. I think it's gonna be lots of fun. There will definitely be reading sprints. I will try to do there's going to be a book discussion, book chat on the Buddy Read, which is Wishtress, at the end of the month, as well as I'm hoping to do at least maybe 2 vlogs during April, so we'll see. But it's going to be a fun time, and thank you for everyone who's already said they're going to be joining in. It's going to be lots of fun. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.